Peugeot's 308 has always been a good all-rounder when it comes to focus-sized family hatchbacks. In this facelifted guise, it's an even more appealing one. Smarter, better equipped, more efficient, and prioritising a more comfortable approach to driving dynamics. On paper at least, it looks a pretty complete solution in this sector. But is it? So what do you look for in an Astra-sized family hatchback? If it's driving excitement, you'll find it in a Ford Focus. If it's sheer value, then you'll need something like, say, a Hyundai i30 or a Kia Ceed. But what if your priorities are a bit more relaxed? You want an expensive feel, an absorbent ride, a laid-back demeanour, and a car that makes you feel that you're in something much nicer. Perhaps, just perhaps, you want one of these. Peugeot's 308. Mid-sized compact Peugeots with a 3 designation go all the way back to the 301 of 1933, progressing through the pre-war 302 to the 305 and 306 models of the 80s and 90s. Most successful, though, was the car on which the underpinnings of the model we're going to look at here are based upon, the 307 of 2001, nearly 250,000 of which were sold here in the UK. Refining this design to produce the 308 of 2007 hasn't been quite as successful as Peugeot had hoped, even though nearly 1 million of them have been sold worldwide. And since the original launch of the 308 in 2007, key all-new rivals have arrived on the market, from Ford, Vauxhall, Volkswagen, Renault and Citroën to name but a few. Hence the need for this heavily revised 308 model, announced in the spring of 2011, with sharper styling, high technology, lower running costs and a stronger value proposition. Enough to keep this French challenger class competitive? Let's find out. Now, you can get a pretty good idea of how this car will drive before even turning the key. The door shuts with a satisfying clump, cosseting you in a cabin more tasteful than you'd expect an affordable Focus class family hatchback to be able to offer. Already you're relaxed, expecting that the driving experience will be so too. It's especially so if you happen to have chosen one of the feebler powered derivatives, thanks to the extra weight that this 308 carries over its 307 predecessor. Now, this was originally a rather hefty 72 kilograms, a figure that the designers have cut by around half in this revised model. But this is still anything but a light car as family hatchbacks go. Better than to ignore the entry-level 98 PS 1.4 litre petrol and 92 PS 1.6 litre HDI diesel models and go straight for the volume variants. Both 1.6 litre in size, a 120 PS 1.6 litre VTI petrol. That's quite a willing unit, goes from rest to 60 in 10.8 seconds on the way to 122 miles an hour. But most interest has centred in on the 1.6 litre HDI diesel that I'm driving here. Now, it's badged eHDI 112 PS in recognition of the clever package of eco-friendly tweaks that aim to champion the driving down of running costs. Now, we've seen this engine before in a range of Peugeot and Citroën models, usually matched to a rather jerky EGS semi-automatic 6-speed gearbox. You can have that here too, but the difference with this 308 is that there's also the option of ordering your eHDI 1.6 litre diesel technology with a conventional manual 6-speed gearbox. That's the one I've got here. Now, it may be slightly less efficient that way, but I think it's ultimately more satisfying. A reasonable 244 Newton-metre slug of torque means that 308 eHDI manual transmission customers shouldn't have to row their cars along with the gear stick, ensuring that this car is probably the best all-round choice in the range. Yes, you can pay more and get the 2 litre HDI diesel engine with 150 PS, or 163 PS if you order it in automatic form, but it still won't get you to 60 from rest in under 10 seconds and offers a markedly inferior set of running cost figures. Its extra pulling power, 325 newton meters of torque, might come in useful though if you're opting for the 308 SW Estate model, specifying the extra cost third row of seating and then somehow filling your car with 7 burly people. Otherwise, EHDI motoring is really the way to go. At least for 5-door hatchback customers. The range does also include a folding metal-roofed 308cc convertible model, for which the pokier 1.6-litre turbocharged 156 and 200 THP petrol models seem a bit more appropriate. Order any of these with the 5-door hatchback body style though, and you could end up rather feeling that you missed the point, because this could never be any kind of GTI shopping rocket. The refinement, the light steering and the supple ride all tell of a different approach, which Peugeot has chosen not to alter in this revised model. Probably with good reason. There are, it's true, softer riding family hatchbacks, but few that achieve a better ride and handling balance. Anyway, just because you can't throw this thing around on its door handles doesn't mean that it can't deliver driving satisfaction in other ways. Point this car at speed into a series of undulating, twisting bends, and it displays admirable composure. And as you might expect from what I've said so far, it simply loves long cross-continental type journeys. Should I ever have to attempt one of these in a humble family hatchback, then this Peugeot's keys are amongst those that I'd reach for first. Even this Peugeot's most loyal fans probably wouldn't finger the original version of this car as being amongst the prettiest in its class. But I found myself looking at this one and thinking, well, that it's rather smart. It just shows what can be done with a bit of a nip and tuck. A shorter nose, a smaller front grille, a more compact front bumper, sleeker headlights, and extra chrome detailing, notably at the rear, all combine to create a more cohesive look that the French brand also hopes has a more premium feel. Something aided further by flared front wings that now incorporate LED daytime running lights, arranged apparently to imitate the claw slashes of a lion. Less effort has been made inside, but here less effort was needed. So these soft touch plastics, the chrome ring dials and the various slivers of aluminium brightening up the cabin remain. Even the optional sat-nav lies behind the kind of retractable screen that you'd find on a luxury car. The 308 was the first modern-era Peugeot to provide us with this standard of interior quality, something since replicated amongst plusher models in the range. Sitting here, you can see why this French brand doesn't make a 5-seat mini MPV like a Ford C-Max or a Renault Scenic. This 308 already has much of the feel of those kinds of cars, the low fascia creating a sensation of space, accentuated by the windscreen being pushed well forward in the tall cabin. Steering that adjusts both for reach and for rake, plus a height-adjustable driver's seat on all models, makes it easy to find the ideal driving position in a light and airy cabin, made more so by the huge glass panoramic roof fitted to plusher versions like this one. Someone's obviously put in a great deal of thought in making the interior of this car a very pleasant place to spend time. The white-faced dials are soothing, all the controls are nicely damped. You can even fit a fragrance file into the ventilation system, able to diffuse all manner of soothing aromatic smells, everything apparently from exotic vanilla to sweet air. Care has gone into making the back of the car feel as spacious as the front. The chamfered upper corners of the front seats, for example, with their thinner backrests. But it doesn't disguise the fact that knee room could be better. Headroom, though, is very good, even for a couple of 6-footers, despite the sloping rear roofline. Now, as with most family hatchbacks, this is a rear seat designed for 2 adults or 3 children. Fitting 3 burly people back here would be a bit of a squash. And unlike MPVs, you don't get features like sliding or reclining seats for greater comfort. But I do like the way that this centre armrest secretes a useful storage compartment, complete with twin pen and cup holders. As for room in the boot, well, once you've humped your items over this fairly high sill, you'll find 347 litres available. And you can make pretty good use of that space thanks to features like this load floor net and various hooks and straps. Push forward the rear seats and you can open up via these 60-40 split folding seats, 1,398 litres. Now, if that's not enough, you'll be wanting the 308 SW estate model. Now, in the rear compartment of that car, you'll find a total of 584 litres of space. That's assuming that you haven't specified and aren't using the optional third row of seats that creates in a 308 SW a fairly tightly packed 7-seater. If you're not using that space and you push forward the second row of seats in a 308 SW, you can free up to 2,149 litres of fresh air. When this revised 308 was first introduced, Peugeot announced a slight reduction in asking prices, but it didn't make too much difference to where this car sat in its intended market. Prices being in the same £15,000 to £25,000 bracket, common to most Focus and Astra class family hatchbacks. Though unlike them, Peugeot hasn't bothered offering a 3-door hatchback body style. As a family buyer, I'd probably be quite tempted to pay an extra premium of just under £1,000 for the 308 SW estate variant, uniquely equipped as it is, with provision for up to 3 rows of seats, making it a 7-seater, though the extra third row seating will cost you an extra £500 on top of the estate model's price. The only other 308 body style is that of the folding metal roof convertible 308cc, which sits in the £21,000 to £28,000 bracket, and that's a car we'll cover more directly in a separate film. When it comes to rivals for this 5-door hatchback model, well, of course, there are plenty. For simplicity, we'll focus on the volume 1.6 litre petrol and diesel 308 variants and how they stack up to their rivals. So let's start with the 308 1.6 VTI 120 PS petrol model. Now, this will save you quite a decent amount over a comparable Citroën C4 fitted with exactly the same engine, and it'll also save you about £1,000 over a comparable 1.6 litre petrol Volkswagen Golf or Ford Focus. An equivalent Vauxhall Astra 1.6 litre petrol would be a closer match, and you might even save a few £100s if you go for a comparable Renault Megane, though only because that Renault would probably give you slightly less power. As for diesel competitors to the 1.6 litre 112 PS EHDI 308 that we've been looking at here, well, this car is more tightly matched price-wise to its competitors, perhaps to take into account of all that clever EHDI technology. So a comparable Citroën C4, Renault Megane or Ford Focus might save you a few £100, and a comparable Volkswagen Golf or something like a Vauxhall Astra with the same kind of diesel engine might cost you a few £100 more, but there's not much in it. The range of 308 5-door hatchback, SW estate and CC convertible engine options is as wide as you might expect. Petrol-wise, there's a choice of normally aspirated 1.4 or 1.6 litre VTI units, and you can order the 1.6 litre VTI in turbocharged form with either 156 or 200 PS. Diesel-wise, there's a choice of 1.6 litre HDI units developing either 92 or 112 PS, and there's a 2 litre HDI engine offering either 150 or 163 PS. Now, in terms of transmission, the normally aspirated petrol models and the feeblest diesel come with a 5-speed manual gearbox. Elsewhere in the range, it's a 6-speed manual gearbox, and there's the option of a semi-automatic 6-speed EGS transmission. Whichever model you choose, you'll find your 308 better equipped than it used to be. All variants featuring air conditioning, a decent quality CD stereo, remote central locking, and power for all windows and mirrors. Safety-wise, there are twin front, side and curtain airbags fitted to every model, together with the latest electronic assistance for braking, traction and stability control to hopefully ensure that you'll never have to use them. All of which should fully justify this car's impressive Euro NCAP safety showing, where it scored a full 5 stars out of 5 for adult frontal protection, 4 stars for child protection and 3 stars out of 4 for pedestrian protection. Popular options standard on plusher models include satellite navigation, xenon headlamps and a huge panoramic glass roof. Almost every fashionable type of technology has been thrown at this car in order to drive down its running costs, but as usual you won't find all of it across the range. Most of the eco tweaks are reserved for eHDI models like the one I'm driving here, vehicles that Peugeot likes to refer to as micro-hybrids. Now don't be confused by that, we're not talking here about Prius-type hybrids. Instead, the terminology refers to a 5-volt supercapacitor, which stores electric power and, along with a reversible alternator, helps the car's standard battery to restart the engine when the standard stop-start system cuts it when not needed, when you're sitting in urban traffic or when you're waiting at the lights, at which point a soothing blue eco light illuminates on the dashboard. Now, this whole package of measures means fuel consumption savings of up to 15% on eHDI models, which in manual gearbox form are able to achieve a CO2 reading of 109 grams per kilometre. If you want to do better, you can specify the even more efficient 6-speed automated EGS transmission, which on the even more green-fingered 308 Oxigo variant manages to get buyers below the magic 100 grams per kilometre of CO2 barrier. Now, it achieves this feat thanks to optimised aerodynamics, clever systems that disconnect the power steering when not needed, and even lower rolling resistance tyres. The result is a 98 grams per kilometre CO2 showing, though that does rise to 104 grams per kilometre if you opt for the manual gearbox. Now, as with all eHDI variants, the Oxigo model relies very heavily on the standard stop-start system, and you can see at a glance how much stop-start is saving you by the ecometer, which is in the trip computer in front of you, and it tells you to the second just how much of your journey has been spent at an engine off fuel saving standstill. Mind you, I can't imagine why you'd ever want to know that. Anyway, I digress. What's really important is that all the extra cleverness on a 308 Oxigo model means that you'll be able to travel about 7 more miles to every gallon. A 308 Oxigo achieving 70.6 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle. But the eco tweaks have benefited the whole 308 range. Most models return under 121 grams per kilometre of CO2, and that's good news for your tax liability. Insurance groupings are affordable too, ranging from groups 10 to 22 on the 1 to 50 grouping scale. And Peugeot reckons that clever eHDI technology has a good effect on residual values too. It believes that eHDI models will achieve about £1,500 more in terms of resale value over a year than the equivalent variants would have done in the previous 308 lineup. Some midlife facelifts have a revolutionary effect upon their products. This isn't one of those. But the changes made are enough to return this 308 to the position that it held in the family hatchback sector at launch as one of the 3 or 4 cars that potential segment buyers must consider. With running costs back on track, a sleeker look and more equipment, it certainly stacks up on paper. True, this still isn't a car that will make a big driveway statement, and other models in this sector may be sharper to drive, or faster, or return better residuals. But there still aren't many that can offer a markedly superior all-round package. And if I had to use such a car over longer distances, this Peugeot's keys would be amongst those that I'd look for every time. Sometimes it seems that evolution can indeed be better than revolution.